What's up? It's Way Up with Angela Yee. I'm here. My girl Chell is here from Chicago.
That's right.
And we have a super special guest in the building. Naomi Scott is here with us. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
First of all, your outfit is so fly. Let's be clear.
Gosh, thank you.
And we're going to get into that because your outfit is fly here, but in Smile too, your outfits were amazing.
Oh my God.
Thank you.
Throughout that whole
I can't
movie.
take credit for that. That is Alexis Forte, our costume designer. So yeah.
Okay. But you wore it well.
Yes,
Well, thank you.
did.
I appreciate it.
Like there was this one dress that was like silver when you were hosting a gala or you were presenting.
Yes.
I was like,
Yes.
the clothing here is impeccable.
I do love that. I do love that look.
All of
with
them
the
was fly.
mirrors. It was quite uncomfortable though because it was like sharp. So it was like you could barely move and you don't want to like touch it because you might like slit your wrist or some
Yes.
shit. Yeah.
Well, let's get into it because we actually went to go see the movie. I hosted a screening, and the screening was so massive it had to take up 2 theaters.
Oh wow.
So that's how many people wanted to come out and see this movie early. So, shout out to, 135 Agency and Paramount for making that happen, free popcorn and drinks. But
The popcorn was good. It wasn't stale, was it?
No, it
could
was
have had more
I've been-
butter.
No, I've literally been at these premieres, yeah. They've been giving us stale popcorn, and I'm like, what are we doing? Like,
Because they got to get rid of the old popcorn. They're not going to give that away.
not stale pop. Anyway, sorry, that's a
But
I have beef with that.
I'm
But.
gonna
had
get you
to-
some Chicago
Yes,
popcorn. Don't
please.
Oh,
worry.
Chicago has
Please,
famous
please.
popcorn.
Yes, we got the best
okay.
popcorn.
Okay.
But Chella, this was her first time actually watching a horror movie
Yes,
at
it
all.
was.
Okay.
Yes, it was.
So
So,
you just
I was super scared.
Jump right in.
Okay. And
It was great. It was really good. So
Okay, good.
you did your thing, sis. I ain't gonna lie.
thank you so
Like
much.
you're really good.
Yeah.
Thank
real.
you.
No,
oh, I feel
I
that.
was
Thank
really
you.
impressed.
You
Thank
were amazing because I think sometimes, and there's some like top tier horror movies, but a lot of times it's a difficult genre because it has to be scary. And then sometimes the storyline isn't that great or the acting isn't that great, but I feel like this had everything,
It did.
Oh,
you know?
Thank you.
And I want to talk to you about what made you decide you wanted to even take on this role because it's majorly different for you.
Yeah.
It really was. It was just the filmmaker. So so Parker, I'd watched the short film that he did in 2020 called Laura Hasn't Slept. I watched that. I remember I got a link for it during COVID, and I just thought this is such a dope concept. Like, how has no one thought of like the smile? Because it's so creepy. I was like, this is, when it feels like it's like when you listen to a song and you think, how is this? Does this not already exist? Type thing. So I loved it from that. Then I went to watch the movie in the cinema, and what really stuck out to me was I was like, he really prioritizes character, and this is a real character piece. It's not just like the character is used as a to move the plot along. It felt like that is a priority for him as a filmmaker. So then when we met, we were supposed to meet for like 30 minutes, yeah, and we were there for 2.5 hours.
Wow.
Like literally my husband had to come in and be like,
It's
so
freaking
we have to
fun.
go like twice.
We gotta
He
pick the
came in
kids up, I mean.
No, literally. No kids yet. But no, he literally was like, we have a life to lead. Like we need to leave. We actually do. And it was because he was talking about this character. I hadn't read a script, and I was like, wait, so she's a pop star. I just that day I was going to the studio to work on my project, and so I think all of the things, it was just like, wait, what? So she's a musician, and then we just went da 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 da, and it was kind of like I read the script and I thought, wow, he's right. This is a character piece. Yeah.
And there's a lot of subtle things too, like she has this big scar,
Yeah.
that she does want to hide. And I was thinking about how you've talked about like dealing in the past with eczema and being really self-conscious about that. And when somebody's in the public eye like that, any little thing that other people are like, no, it looks great, it looks fine.
Yes.
You really beat yourself up about it.
Don't we? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. So what's interesting is I actually went through topical steroid withdrawal, which is like TSW, which is basically a withdrawal from the steroids they give you for eczema.
Right.
So it wasn't even eczema that I had. I didn't realize it at the time. It was a withdrawal. It's
From the
I mean,
topical.
I looked like I was a burns victim. It was really rough, like really, really rough. And then of course my job is having my face on screen. So it was a great combination. Thank you, Lord. And so you're right. It really, and even now, like I'll go on a red carpet and I'm like, worrying about the angle because I'm quite short and I'm worried that the picture's going to be, do you know what I mean? Just
Right.
all these things. And it's like being perceived is can be a bit, can be a lot. Do you know what I mean? Regardless, like, so I think we're all the same in that sense. So I guess there was parallel. I'm of course nowhere near as much as my character as being, you know, dissected and perceived in her fame, but I can relate.
I feel like you're, when I see interviews that you've done, you're
gosh.
very like, no, I like that though. It feels very.
Please don't go back and watch it.
No, but I want to say this. What's great about it, and I mean this in a positive way, it's unpolished. It doesn't feel media trained, but that's not but I don't think of that as a bad thing, because sometimes.
They tried. Listen, they tried. They locked me in a room. They said, what can we do with this girl? To like.
But I think that's part of what people like about you. The fact that you can have a meeting and then sit down for 2.5 hours and have a conversation, or somebody could walk up to you and start talking to you, and then you become friends with them.
Yeah,
I
very
mean,
personable.
I like random people like that.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you. Well,
Real natural.
you guys are the same, so that's why I was excited to come here, because you guys have the same energy.
Now, I want to talk about the character of Sky, who is the main character. That's your character in this movie. You're a pop star, but you're going through a lot, and it's time for you to get back on the road and have this big first show in New York, by the way, because you're living in New York. Yeah. By the way, in an amazing apartment. And when you see this,
was cold.
When you see this movie and you see the apartment that Sky is living in, it's gonna make you want to be a pop star. So
I love that, just to get that apartment.
That apartment, this is New York.
Yeah. No, I said to our set designer, I was like, how much? So
how much would this be?
It's not, because obviously, you know, it's a built set, right? But it is a specific apartment in New York. Like, it's built to that spec. Yeah. And I think they said it's probably worth like 15 mil easy.
Yeek.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that apartment
15,
was
just a
cold.
casual
like,
15 mil.
I was like, go ahead and get back on the road.
Listen,
so we
that's
can afford
pocket
this
change.
apartment.
You
That's
going
pocket
on
change
tour.
for you, babe.
Not for me.
Don't lie.
For Sky, it is, you know, but you know, but even like us feeling so sympathetic to that character, because it's like, it felt like you were so alone, and in some ways isolating yourself. And then I'm thinking about, because of course I've seen The First Smile when that came out, but also thinking about, because the whole point of the movie is this, like, what would you call it, like a supernatural type of entity that latches onto you.
Yeah, yes.
And so I'm trying to figure out what makes that figure out who it's going to latch onto, when it feels like you had some baggage and things that you had never told anybody, some secrets. And
yes.
So maybe it's kind of like a payback. I don't know.
Do you know what? I don't know either.
I
Parker,
mean,
where are you? Where's our director?
interpretation.
No, but I think you're right. First of all, yes, you're completely right. Like, the movie, Parker's so specific. He wants to shoot it in a way that Sky is always isolated. She's feeling, and I think there's something to be said for, you know, the idea of the things that she has to deal with. Fame is not necessarily a conducive environment to deal with your shit, right? Because it can sometimes, if you don't have obviously the right people around you, it's like it can cause you to be less vulnerable with the people around you, and then hold you less accountable. Right. So I think it kind of goes both ways, and it can kind of go down that path. And then of course there's money involved, and there's like people
relying
on your
you.
payroll and all that, and it's like, you know, we've got to keep the train on the tracks type shit. So yeah, I think it's a really the most important thing I think for Parker and I was that it felt believable that she, you know, that was his thing, is like we believe that she's a pop star, and like and he just stays with his characters. That's what I love. So you really do feel like you're beginning to peel back the layers, and I think the idea of this entity feeding off of like your trauma or your, you know, whatever you're going through, I think there's some of that in there too. But yeah, no, I think that's
it was very believable.
Yeah, and you are really a singer, songwriter. It's kind of a perfect role for you.
I mean, yeah, I have to
Feels
say,
like it was written for you.
Thank you.
That choreography was crazy.
Thank you.
Even sitting there watching you play the piano and make songs, were those songs that you really, because that is your forte anyway, were they like, okay, you can have a little freedom with this part?
That song I co-wrote with, her name is Alexis Ida Rose. She's a writer-producer. She wrote and produced 4 of the 5 songs in the movie. So when I signed on to do the movie, there was already 3 songs written. So there was a lot of things that were shaped, you know, the costume, the choreography. There was a things were in motion in terms of like building out this character and Parker's vision for it, I didn't have a lot of time. Like, I think it was like maybe 3 weeks after I was cast. I had a couple of dance rehearsals. I was cast, and 2 days later I was in the studio recording the songs. Like, so there was 3 songs, and 2 of which she wrote and produced, and it was her vocal on the demo. And I used that as a bit of a blueprint because she was kind of doing this like pop, 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 like thing, right? So I was like, okay, yeah, like I feel like, and I think, and so I really wanted to lean into that, and I wanted to create Sky's sound, and you know, we kind of, in terms of how we vocal produced and how she vocal produced me, and like make it hers and make it separate to me. Feel not I didn't want it to sound like me. I wanted it to sound like Sky.
Okay.
And so then
That's interesting.
Because I'm singing in the accent, and then
You're like, where'd she get this accent from?
yeah, exactly. It's like and so then when we were talking over Zoom, and we actually got the opportunity to write then 2 more songs for the movie together, one of which is the piano song, Just My Name, and we wrote that over Zoom, like literally like I got like the second day I was in the studio, we like wrote that. I was in London, she was in she's New York based, and then we got to write the end credit song, which is Death of Me.
Oh yeah.
We got to write that after I finished the movie. So that was so fun because I'd done all the hard work.
Yeah.
We'd solidified the sound. She's my age. We just like, she's honestly someone that I'd probably find myself in a writing session in LA or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was someone that I was like, oh yeah, this is just
felt
fun.
natural.
This is just fun. And like, and also you can lean into things that you wouldn't necessarily do for yourself as an artist, because you know, you take time to, like for me personally as an artist, like just taking the time to really craft and find who I am as an artist, and some of that is limitations, purposeful, right? And you put those limitations on yourself to kind of create what you want to create. And then, but when you get to like pretend to be someone else, it's like when you in a writing session, sometimes everyone's a bit bored, and we're like, let's just pretend we're writing a song for blah blah, right? And you just kind of gotta get out it, shake it off a bit.
You want
it
some character.
Exactly, yeah. So just play, and so for me, I'm just playing into that character. That's not, you know, but it was, and that was so much fun to write into that.
You know, how you said like 3 weeks after you got casted. So how long was that process of them letting you know you had the part?
Oh gosh, I sent you know, a tape. So a lot of things are tapes nowadays. You send a tape.
It's a blessing, because isn't that better? Do you like a tape better than going in?
That's a good question. Do I like a tape better than I feel like there is something about being in the room.
Right, because it can give you some feedback. You can feel.
Yeah, there is. But also, you do get to control more when you're taping. Like, when you're
do it again.
taping.
Let me do it again.
Yeah, and you can kind of craft what you're after. But yeah, I do think being in the room ultimately is a good thing. But then some people are so, you know, they say, oh gosh, I'm terrible, or I get so nervous, which I also understand. At least with a tape, you can kind of like pick your best take, and do you know what I mean?
Right.
But I taped. Sorry, no, I'd already met Parker at this point. I'd met Parker, and then I sent in the tape, and then I was shooting another movie that at the time.
Okay, booked and busy. Okay.
I mean, girl, only the last year.
No,
we're not talking about the last 3 years before that.
No, you've been
Right.
doing. No, let's be clear. Everybody in here was excited, but they know you from different parts of their life. So
Oh, that's
people who grew
cool.
up watching certain things can now watch this movie because they're old enough to.
Yeah,
they grew
I
up
know.
with you. Okay,
Oh,
so go
that's
ahead.
really cool. Well, no, I appreciate it, but listen, there's some dry times, as we all know. That's life, and that's we love that. Yeah, so I taped, and then literally one of the last days that I was shooting another movie, I did a Zoom with Parker, and we read through the scene, and I kind of knew at that point. He was like, "How do you feel about dyeing your hair blonde?" And I was like, "Ha ha, I'll do it." Yeah, as well.
They look cute, by the way.
Do you know
I like
what's-
the blonde hair.
I do love the blonde. Do you know what's funny though? Is I said to my husband before, I was like, before I even knew that he wanted the character to be blonde, I was like, do you know what I want to do? cut off my hair and dye it blonde for
Well,
like a role like this.
God
And
said, "Let's do
literally,
it."
yeah, no, for real though. And then literally Parker was like, "How do you feel?" And I was like, "I'm not just saying this to try and get the part." I was like, so I kind of knew, and that was more like it was like we were already working together at that point. It felt natural, and so yeah, at that point they, you know,
Now,
I
here's the
finally convinced them.
Here's the question that everyone's going to have.
Go on,
Did Voss Water sponsor this movie?
girl. No. No, seriously. And you know what?
You know everybody.
How dare they not at this point?
How dare they
right.
not?
Like, put
Y'all
some
should
money
have
in
approached
our
them
pocket.
because when I tell you all them Voss
Everybody
sweaters,
kept saying it.
I was like, I
movie.
might gotta get some Voss sweater and get a subscription on Amazon
For
because
sure.
No. And I remember people were asking on set, and Parker was like, no, they wouldn't. No. Voss, what are you playing at, guys? Come on. Where you
But that
at?
was interesting.
Actually, I wouldn't mind you sending me a shit ton of Voss. That would actually be dope.
Did you
I,
really
they
drink the water
should.
that fast?
Yes.
Okay, that's wild. I don't know how you did that, but
And I had to do it 5 times because, for a particular, I did it a couple of times in the movie, but do you remember the long one take there where I end throwing the thing at the shower and it,
yeah.
Oh,
You
yeah.
broke
I
the-
remember
yeah.
that.
so that.
Everybody was like,
We was
that's gonna
mad. Like,
cost
she
a lot
messed
of
up
money.
that whole...
Everybody was
say?
like,
Oh,
that's
no,
expensive.
not
Why
the
would she do
shower.
that? Okay, go ahead.
That's when you know she's rich. No, she, we are one and the same.
and
God,
together.
No, don't
bloody
be, don't
actors.
be.
No, exactly. That's why, by the way, you said about the blonde. I was like, as soon as it was rap, I was like, get this off.
Get it
Because
off me.
before
Yeah.
I went blonde and I was like, I was like, is this me? Like, am I? And then by the end, I was like, get it off.
Yeah.
Get me back to
Erase
brunette. I was
these
like,
demons.
please, please get rid me of Sky. So that one take, it was a very long reset. So, with the shattering glass, it took like an hour to reset. And so if in the middle of the take it wasn't working, we couldn't waste a take for time. So Parker would like call cut before we got to the shower bit because it was like, it's not worked, something's not right. So we did 2 full takes, but we did 5 takes that didn't go all the way through. So I literally did that, like downing the whole thing 5 times. And it was really... It's really uncomfortable,
hard, yeah.
but I really wanted to, because he was like, if you can't do it, you can't do it. And I was like,
You're like, you probably had to
drinking
pee
more
100
water.
times after that.
at that point, I think my body was
So used to the water.
So used
Yeah.
to, because I was also very good at keeping hydrated. I had a massive bottle on set. 'Cause it was I was like an athlete on this set. Like it was, it was really about how do I maintain.
And for context,
Yeah.
for people who haven't seen it yet that are listening, Sky's character, I guess when you feel like, because you're a recovering
Yes.
addict, and so
Yep.
when you feel like you might want to do something, you drink a whole bottle of water.
Yes.
Which is that a real thing? Is that something that?
I don't know if it's just Sky's therapist.
Yeah.
Maybe she needs to get a new
'Cause,
therapist.
because
There's
that,
the-
yeah.
Yes. No. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna ask you. Go ahead.
I don't know.
Because I was like, I'm gonna Google this. Is
I
this
think
real?
her therapist just told her that.
It feels like something that's a part. Yeah, it feels like something that
Who is this
Sky's
therapist?
Yeah, I know. It feels like
Sky's
she
therapist.
probably has some like fancy New York therapist, but is a bit old school, maybe not quite with it. I
Drink
don't know.
water.
Or it's the opposite, and they're trying new things, but some of them are a bit off. I don't know. Who knows?
I kept
But it's
thinking, I
supposed to
gotta
be a
drink more
form of
water.
like something like for her to just control something. I think it's yeah. I don't
And
know.
to not drink, because then maybe the water will fill you up.
Yeah,
and so you're not
it's
gonna
just
feel
basically
like,
like I think it's like a distraction thing of like, okay, yeah, let me just distract myself with downing a bottle of water.
Now, there were some very intense scenes. What was the hardest one for you?
Oh, gosh.
Physically, because it was a very
Physically?
physical
Okay.
movie. And then mentally. I want to hear the difference.
And then mentally, and then emotionally, and then also just trauma. No. Okay, so the worst physically. All right, so I'd say, there's a couple that come to mind. So without giving away spoilers, there's a moment where I am having to use a lot of core strength because I am, how do I say this without spoiling it? I'm up towards the end of the movie.
Okay. Ooh.
Freezer.
Okay. Okay.
I'm-
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
And I had to hold I have to hold my whole body weight up. And whilst doing probably one of the most traumatic, rehashing one of the most traumatic parts of the movie.
Right.
So it was literally the most, just, it's never fun when you got to go there. Do you know what I mean? It's never like, way. So imagine this person dead. Like it's rough, but also it's like do that whilst doing a plank. Like, do you know what I mean? It was like do that whilst doing a plank. Exactly. So I think that was a double whammy, and those 4 days in the freezer were the hardest 4 days of my life.
So that's a real freezer.
That's what I was going to say. Was it really cold?
No. It's not really cold. Sorry, I call it the freezer because that's
for 4
Do you know
days.
what though? No, actually, like, my dad was like, bless my dad. He was like, was it really cold in there? Afterwards, he asked the director, and Park was like, no, Dad, like, no,
wouldn't do that.
It's
I
like
mean,
we
we
had,
tried to do
yeah,
but not all
like
the way
no,
through.
like we put her through it, but not that much, that much.
We did see the breath coming out though. That's
That's
why
all put in post, yeah.
That
And then I was
works.
just acting, guys. I was.
was
I'm
so
glad that
good.
it, like,
It
you know,
worked. I
that
believed
reminds
it.
me of in
Me
Friends
too.
when Joey's like, I'm cool. I don't know.
And then what about emotionally? Because it is
Emotionally.
definitely a movie that I feel like goes and takes you there. Like you really show a lot of.
Oh gosh, there's so many.
What sticks out? What sticks out in your head though?
It's probably the car crash.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
That was a bit
Let's talk about Jack Nicholson's son, Ray Nicholson. He
Isn't
is
he amazing?
also in this movie. Looks just like him when he was young in The Shining.
Isn't he?
That
like,
is so clever.
The thing is, he bodied that like scene, like he just killed it. And you know, of course, yes, he is who he is, and you know, of course, some of that you can see those resemblance, but you have to. He has the chops. He has the thing, and that is why Parker cast him. Because you know, that is not a role that you cast for a look or a, you know, it's really like, can they do the thing? And he did the thing and then some. But he is also like such a professional. He came in on a day where I was screaming all day, and he was waiting, you know, for his scene at the end of the day, one of the days that he was in, and just came in with the best energy, just really injected that, just knew, you know, someone just understands the assignment. Can't speak highly enough about him.
Oh, that's
But
great.
yes, it's brilliant. It's so, as you said, you see his face and it's, you know, reminiscent. It's really quite cool.
Ooh. Well, listen, I just want to tell everybody to make sure you go out and watch this. Like I said, when I was in the screening, I was like, I'm so excited. I've been waiting for this movie to come out. You did a phenomenal job.
You did.
I also
Thank you.
quoted an article where it said this is definitely the scariest movie of the year so far.
Oh, wow.
So as
Right.
it better be, because that's what I'm there for. I'm
Yeah.
there to
Scary.
be scared, you know. And could you see yourself doing more horror after this?
Yeah, it just is. It's all filmmaker. It's all who, you know, I just want to work with great people.
Right.
So I actually don't care the genre. I'm like, I just want to work with people that I think are dope. So yeah.
Is
why
that
not?
a genre you watch, or
Is that what? Sorry.
is that a genre that you
genre
watch?
I watch. Well, it's interesting you say that. I didn't grow up on horror. Maybe because I'm a pastor's daughter, so like pastor's kid, PK. I was like, listen, my mum was
neither.
funny about Sabrina the Teenage Witch, let alone.
And you
fucking,
saying
like,
gospel, right?
yeah, exactly. So I think I stayed away until, well, I say stayed away. I just didn't grow up on it. But as an adult, discovering the genre has been so cool because I really truly believe horror's such a great way to explore parts of humanity that we find hard to talk about.
Right.
And there's, you know, coupled with the entertainment factor of being in a room full of people and letting loose certain emotions that you can't in other like public settings. There's something very freeing about it. There's obviously fun to be had, but also my favorite horror movies, like the masterpieces, of course, like The Shining, etc. But like, there's like two movies that come to mind, which is Let the Right One In. No, oh gosh, here we go. I'm gonna get fact checked. They're gonna be like,
me write
I don't know if
this
it's
down.
Swedish. I can't even remember. It's in a. Listen, guys, it's
Let the Right
it's
One In. I'm
European,
writing it, don't
and
worry.
I can't remember. And Don't Look Now.
Oh, I think I saw Don't Look Now.
It's an older movie.
Yeah, I saw that.
And that movie, those movies about loneliness and grief, I think they're just some of the most beautiful. Like, I cry watching those movies. So for me, it's like, or when you think about Get Out, for example, or you think about like, it's just, or even like Hereditary, or there's
Oh, yeah,
these
that was
movies that
good.
are just honestly like so fantastic in terms of not just the kind of fun elements of them and the fantastical nature of them, because it allows a filmmaker to really lean into something, right? Take a swing and go for it, but also it really is a conversation, and you feel, again, it's character led, and I think it brings stuff up for us as people that we sometimes bury, and then you just have the fun vibes of just like, you know, being in a cinema and just getting the jump scares and that stuff, which
She
I
was jumping
do
so
love.
much.
Oh,
Every
so
time I looked at the
glad.
whole movie, Chella was like this.
Because it seems so real. I was like, then when you had on one of my favorite parts, not to be the spoiler, but remember she had on the outfit with the blue with the scar and the eye stuff.
Yes.
I was like,
She
whoever
goes in
doing
and she
that
goes,
was wrong.
this
in
makeup
the
and that outfit.
Yes, when you have to go under
Oh.
the lashes.
And you didn't want to wear it because of the scar?
I was
Yes.
so into
That-
it. Like,
Shout out
nobody
Sasha
see that
Grossman.
scar.
She was our head of makeup. Sasha Grossman.
Yeah,
She did a fantastic.
great job.
Yeah.
No, I
So shout out to everybody on the team.
Yeah.
You could tell this new movie budget was
Yeah,
amazing for part
it
2.
was.
But you know, shout out to them for that.
Shout out to
And the guy with the dirty drawers. Make sure when you see it, just pay attention to that. There's a guy in there with some
that
shit stains on his
guys,
drawers.
Nah, the way when I saw that for the first time, I was like, Parker, what the fuck is wrong with you?
It's a real
I was
thing.
like, bro, like what? No, seriously, we need to get you a therapist at this point. I was like,
Anybody
what is-
listening, make sure y'all
Yeah.
pay attention to that part, and y'all gonna die laughing because it has some funny parts too.
It did.
Yeah,
a lot of
it's-
things that you can relate to. Like,
Yeah.
you know.
The
I don't wanna
drawers?
Give it away.
Oh.
The drugs.
Yeah.
The best friend.
I said the
being on
drawers.
point, 'cause we all got those best friends.
We all done had shit stains. No.
The best friend too. We all got those ratadas.
Yeah, best
Yes,
friends falling
yes.
out
Oh,
and
yeah.
then having to say sorry.
Like,
But
I'm
also,
riding
isn't
with
it
you.
funny how one thing I enjoyed was Sky just doesn't really like the fact that she never ever responds to Josh, that assistant, just makes me laugh
Right.
every time.
I love
'Cause
the
this
assistant.
guy. She's like, bro, get out of my face.
Yeah.
And
Right.
then with her best friend, what's interesting, what we really wanted to play with this was this idea that. You know, she calls and she's so sorry. And this is like, again, just that little bit of the selfishness that can come with isolating yourself, and especially when your world revolves around you. And she's so good at making people feel amazing in the moment. But then, like, the next day, she's like, can you, what do you
giving
mean
you
a friend?
orders.
Yeah,
Forget
she's
your
like,
other
yeah,
obligations. It's all about her
exactly, exactly. And I
Well,
kind of, yeah.
listen, they're telling me you gotta go, but I just want to say thank you so much. This was a fun conversation. I was right about
yeah.
you. Somebody could walk up, have a conversation, and now we're friends.
Honestly,
So-
you guys are great. I could sit here all day, and I really appreciate being here. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, my friend Naomi Scott, thank you so
Yes.
much for coming
Yes.
through.
Okay.
Guys, make sure y'all check out Smile 2 in theaters October 18th. You will not be disappointed. So have some fun, but also make sure you don't go alone. I just highly recommend bring somebody with you that is sympathetic if
That
you
you
need
can
to.
grab.
Yeah, I let her grab and whatever. We were fine.
Grab.
Yeah.
I push as well. I'm like such a puncher, like a push and a punch. Yeah, I love it.
All right, it's way up.
Way up.